Hello, hello, hello. Now, what to charge is a very big and broad question. And obviously, I'm not going to tell you exactly what to charge because when it comes down to it, that is really a personal preference on how you build your business, how much you want to work, what type of clientele you have. But what I am going to tell you is how to come up with what to charge. How to figure out what to charge is what's gonna keep you and last through your entire business. It's the structure, it's the formula, it's the sweet sauce. It's finding how to find that sweet spot. So let's start about what to charge. First off, there are going to be a few simple organizational rules that are going to help with you changing no matter how much you charge. These are some organizational rules when it comes to figuring out your pricing that's going to help. And to be honest, my favorite little tip when it comes to this stuff is based on simple psychology. It really is. So we're not going to touch on exact numbers like I talked about. We are going to talk about the pricing structure and the psychology behind it all. It's not about the idea of quality versus quantity, because again, that's a personal preference. Like that's of course the two ways you can go into charging for your structuring. You could go into I want to book a ton and charge less, or you can go into I want a higher end clientele where I shoot less but I have a higher price point. This again is personal, dependent on what you want your business to look like, and it could grow over the time and a lot of other aspects that don't really help you with the actual pricing structure. The number one rule when it comes to figuring out your pricing structure is go for the middle. Most people want to go to the middle. They don't want to get overcharged, so they don't want to go for the biggest package, but they also don't want to be considered cheap, or they don't want to miss out, right? So they're not going to go for the lowest package. Their eyes structurally are going to go to the middle. The middle is what feels comfortable to most people. So you want to create your pricing structures to guide people towards your ideal package, which is going to be the middle. You might think you want that bigger package, but to be honest, the bigger package is, well, we'll get into that. There are 3 basic tips to remember when you are looking at your pricing structure. 1, start off with an odd number, right? Like that's just going to be the easiest way to do. You want to start off with an odd number of packages just because that way it leads people towards the middle. That said, as you roll out your packages, like what I've come to find is a lot of my ideal clients kind of fall somewhere, someone a little bit less or a little bit more than that middle package I have. So after many years of kind of tweaking my packages, I did create a fourth, I do 4, my odd numbers are 4, 2 middle packages. But to begin with, start with an odd number. It just makes it easier to do this whole thing and then tweak later as the nuances of your packages really come together. Okay, number 1. Number 2, start with 3 or 5. 5 is pushing it. Ideal situation, you just offer 3 packages. If you look at websites and you look at everything online of packages, you'll see there's 3 and there's 3 and there's 3, because you don't want to offer too many. You don't want to offer too many because people have the paradox of choice, right? You think you're offering something great when you're offering someone a lot of things, but you're really not. You're just making them confused. But when you throw them all in, it doesn't actually taste good, right? So that's the idea of the paradox of choice. You want to keep it small. You are the expert. You know what your ideal client wants. They don't know. You know more than you do. So you know more than they do. So you should go in and create that for them, okay? So start with 3 or 5, and then keep it simple and easy, right? You don't have to explain everything in your packages at all. You want to keep it simple, like they say, KISS, keep it simple, stupid. Photo and photography can be very complicated, and a lot of your people and a lot of your clients aren't going to really understand the nuances of what does it mean if I only get 5 JPEGs, or what does it mean if I get a complete set, or what does a sitting fee mean? A lot of these things they don't know. So it's not your time to explain it all on a tiny little piece of paper or in a proposal. Your goal actually is to make sure they understand, keep the packages simple, because you don't want to scare them away with anything that's too complicated, but ultimately you want to get them to ask you. It's great to get your clients on a call. Some photographers want to run away from this, but if you can get them on a call, then you can Have a conversation with them. You can get a chance to sell yourself and your personality directly versus just a piece of paper with pretty pictures, okay? So those are the 3 basic tips just to keep in mind as you're doing this. Now, the first thing we want to talk about before we start building out these packages, and I am going to tell you exactly how I structure and all this is, but first thing that makes it kind of simple, or helps a little bit, is to kind of itemize. So you want to make a general list of your cost per item that you're going to want to charge. Clients don't ever have to see this unless you decide you want to add an a la carte section, but this is for your own mental math to keep track of what you want. So for example, how much are you going to charge per hour? How much are you going to charge for your prints? How much does each individual JPEG cost? How much does the complete set of JPEGs cost, right? How much is your online gallery? So you might not necessarily have an add-on for an online gallery, but that is something that is going to be itemized underneath what's included. So when you look at your packages, that you'll say package number 1 includes, 3 hours, complete set of JPEGs, an online gallery, and 2 prints. If you itemize that out, what does that look like, right? And then you want to have your package cost for what these things will be, and you want to have your a la carte cost, because your a la carte cost is going to be a little bit more than your package cost because it's a package deal, right? Okay. So, and again, we'll talk about how to come up and how to find these prices a little bit later. But first, the fun stuff. How to guide people towards the middle, because guiding people towards the middle is the number 1 goal. And there's a system. So let's go over each package, and we're going to talk about what each package kind of looks like. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to create that middle package. You're not going to start with the first package or the bottom package. You're going to start in the middle because that's your ideal place. And you want to charge what you want to make on this, right? So this is your perfect package. What you want to work, what you want to make, and what your ideal client is wanting as well, right? For example, if your ideal client is an elopement, then don't put your middle package with 8 hours and all the bells and whistles. If your ideal package is, a huge, gigantic 3-day wedding, sure, yeah, that's a great usual third package. So think about your ideal client, think about your ideal wedding. Like I know, for example, for me, when it comes to weddings, my ideal package includes 6 hours, not 8 hours, not 10 hours. I love a 6-hour wedding. My ideal client ranges, but most of my ideal clients aren't going to be clients that are going to have like hundreds and hundreds of guests. They're going to be smaller, so they're not going to need as many hours, right? So think about your ideal client, think about what your ideal package is, and think about what you need to make. Now, another thing that comes into this is knowing your overhead. For example, you might think that 1 hour is a photo coverage has 0 overhead, but if you hire an editor, then your editor has a little bit of a cost for every hour that you do, right? So kind of just keep aware. You don't have to be too strict about this as long as you're definitely not losing money. And also, think about your ideal client, your ideal amount of money you want to make realistically. Oh yeah, sure, we all want to charge $50,000 for a package, but are you going to be able to book a $50,000 package is the question, which we'll talk about that stuff a little bit later as well. So that's your middle package. Next, create your most expensive package. Now this is your dream package, like over the top. This is your $50,000 package, right? It might be a big leap though, just saying, to do 50,000 and then have somewhere else in the middle. So this is your big dream package. Make it over the top. I know for me, I put everything I offer in this package. Everything. I call it my concierge package, and it's everything. Like, it's the boudoir shoot. This is for wedding. Of course, there's different ways you can do it for different portraits as well. But for weddings, this is the boudoir shoot, and it's the elopement or the engagement, and it's all day coverage, and it's rehearsal dinner, and it's the brunch afterwards. It's everything. This is the package you really assume most people won't book, right? This is so, in fact, you don't want people to book this package because you want people to book the middle package. And then if anything, add on the other options that they might see in the first package. So this is where customizing your packages becomes really key. So, just for a little bit more money, I'm going to get A, B, C, and D, which is so much more value. You want them to have more value to be better for them, right? Okay, so for example, let's say your middle package has the complete set of JPEGs, whether or not you do this or not, or a ton of prints and whatever, right? So instead of offering the complete set of JPEGs in the first package, you're going to offer just a few little JPEGs, right? Let's say, and we're just going to use these numbers randomly just to make it even, right? Even math. We're going to say that it is $1,000 to add on your complete set of JPEGs. Now, that would mean and let's say it's a $500 hourly cost for every hour added on, right? So let's say that your middle package is 6 hours and your package below that is 4 hours, and you're going to add the complete set of JPEGs. Instead of it being a $2,000 more package, make it very small, make it 500, right? Because again, your goal is that middle package. What you charge for that bottom package doesn't really matter that much, but you want to make sure that it's a small leap with a lot of value, right? So you want people to go, why would I get this package if I can get that package? That is the trick. That is the way that you do the 3 packages, okay? 1, 2, 3. That's kind of the system and the formula between the 3. And then, as I said, you've got this now third package that has so many things in the big package that people might go like, well, what does it look like if I add this and this? And if you keep getting that question over and over and over and over and over again, that's when you create a 4th package and make 2 middle packages. Okay? So then let's talk about, one more thing. You want to also leave a little space. Like, don't make this so tight to I can't charge $1 more, right? Or I don't want to make $1 less. You want to have some leeway and feel good about it, because you want to leave space for discounts. You want to leave space for some, let's say your friends come, or let's say someone you want to offer a discount to. You want to still be able to offer a discount and still feel good about what you're pricing. So there needs to be a little space left in there for the discounts. Okay, so now how to figure out what to charge. First things first, become friends with photographers. Networking is so important, and having fellow photographer friends that you have honest, open relationships with is so key. You can look online and Google, but if you really Google what's an average photographer cost, just like you tell people for weddings and portrait photography, that average number is always swayed, right? It depends on where you're located. It depends on the experience of the photographer. There's so many different ways that you really want to talk about the people who are. And then the other way to do that is your internet search. Off your finding your ideal client, go into Instagram, see who they follow, see other companies they follow, see other things that see if they're friends with other photographers, and see what those photographers charge. Now, this is my biggest number one warning. Whatever you do, no matter how tempting it is, no matter what you see and read online, never, ever, 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 ever pretend to be a client with a photographer. To go on their contact page and say, I'm getting married, or I'm looking for a family portrait. What is your pricing? Never do this. It can really come back and backfire. I've had it happen to me in the past, and then I meet the person and I'm just offended that they didn't ask me to begin with. Because when it comes down to it, anyone who asks me my prices, I'll tell you straight up. You don't not tell your clients. So never do that, because it's also just a bad way to start networking, right? You're kind of coming in at a very competition. And, we want to be, collaboration over competition is the key. Okay? So the last thing I want to talk about is when to change your prices, right? So this is also a big thing. When should I raise my prices? Right? Do I ever lower my prices? Which it never feels good to lower your prices, which you don't have to actually lower, like we talked about. You can figure out a way to make discounts, and they don't even have to be discounts necessarily. They can be just shifting items out of your packages, right? So all of a sudden you're adding an extra service to your package. So your package stays the same. That's one thing we'll talk about on a different video, how to negotiate. In fact, that might be next week's. Yep, next week's going to be how we negotiate. So let's talk about when to adjust your prices and some cues to look for. Obviously, you're getting too busy. You're getting too busy, that everyone's booking you, so time to raise your prices, right? That's what we all dream of, that it's a knock on the door, and next thing you know, I'm just getting so much. Now, here's something to think about. When you change your prices, especially when you raise them, there's probably going to be a little bit of a lull in your booking, but that's okay. Stick with it because you've got a full schedule. You're fine, right? Just because you've been booking every single day, right? Or every week or whatever's good for you, all of a sudden you raise your prices, you might hear crickets for a little bit, but sit with it. It's okay. You can always go back down. You can always shift back, right? But it doesn't hurt to try. And then again, if it's the reverse and you're going, okay, I must have missed the mark, I missed the sweet spot, then you can do last minute deals, right? You're trying to fill the calendar. So instead of your calendar being, oh my gosh, I'm so full, you're just like, shoot, I got to do some last minute fill and booking. Then it's time to reassess your packages, maybe make them lower, or maybe just offer some specials or some last minute things or free hour or whatever it takes to make it work. So that is kind of when you look at when you want to adjust. I wouldn't necessarily adjust because, say, the market is adjusting. Adjust what's good for you. So that was my quick and dirty, everything I can break down, pricing information on what to charge.